Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Seemingly progress towards an undisputed fight, with Anthony Joshua posting to social media about an official first offer, and this relates to the site where the fight would be held. As we know, a few weeks ago, Joshua and Fury, they had reached a deal to fight, but the sticking point, the outstanding point that needed to be sort of over the line, squared away, was where were they going to have this thing, relying on a site fee potentially, somewhere around $100 million, maybe more. These are some of the figures that have been bandied around. But Joshua on social media, and bearing in mind Joshua doesn't necessarily say too much on social media, especially on the business side. So I did take note when I saw this post. A lot of people tagged me into it, but saying publicly, and on the right hand side of the post here from all his platforms, he says, public service announcement, more official news to follow, stay tuned. Statement proper on the left hand side, positive news this evening. I'm lacing up my running boots right now at 258 Management, his management company, and Matchroom Boxing, his promoter, have received the first official, and official is all capped, offer to host the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship of the world. I will be victorious, God willing. No place to hide now. I'm coming. So Anthony Joshua on social media saying, or at least indicating to fans, that something is coming. Progress is being made. As we know, they talked about reaching a deal to fight maybe 3 weeks ago, and the sticking point being where were they going to have the thing. And seemingly they're getting closer to announcing something, because Joshua doesn't, like I say, often comment too much on the business side. But I do think that this is positive news, and it's sort of not come out of nowhere. I mean, we actually heard ahead of the weekend that there was going to be 3 or 4 offers going to the fighters to consider for the Undisputed fight. And so one of the questions that I had, and I sort of voiced this on Twitter, was I was a little bit confused about what's really being said. I mean, is some of the language not lining up with the different parties involved? Because Tyson Fury and Eddie Hearn were talking about multiple offers, but we're hearing here from the statement, first official offer. So I'm not really sure what the difference is, or is this the one that is the preference? I mean, when I did sort of raise this on Twitter, I had a myriad of views about what this really actually meant, and what really is sort of achieved here, or is actually, almost to be achieved. So a lot of people had varying sort of theories on what this actually means. I mean, maybe the talk of 3 or 4 offers to review, maybe that was smoke and mirrors. Maybe there was only ever one official offer, and this is the one Joshua is saying that has been received and is something that he's been looking at and considering. And I guess with Fury and Joshua, they've got to like what they see, because at the end of the day, if there's no fans or limited fans, that sort of affects the bottom line. So a lot of the money that would be generated from this fight, aside from pay-per-view, would come from the site fee. And the boxers, they're going to get paid, potentially tens of millions of dollars, maybe more. They have to be happy with what is being offered. And the question being, well, where will this thing be? Because there's no real clue there from Anthony Joshua, except to say that seemingly some progress of some description, although slightly vague, but letting us all know that actually something is going on behind the scenes here. I mean, Eddie Hearn's been sort of, stirring the sort of pot to keep people interested for some considerable time. And obviously, a lot of people have been asking the question, what's really going on? And even when he actually said that a deal had been reached a few weeks back, I guess at the time that did look like he had to say something, because we were all wondering what is actually going on. Often when things are quiet, that means things are happening, but sometimes that can also mean that things have sort of ground to a halt. And it felt like at the time that he was trying to, at least publicly, just reassure us, hey, we're going to get this fight done. And I've got to say, I've been skeptical that this is going to happen in 2021, just due to the pandemic, the lack of crowds, and, they'd potentially be leaving money on the table. But if the offer is right, if it's big enough, both fighters are happy, and everyone's seemingly taking cuts galore across the sort of spectrum, promoters, management, all sorts of people who'd be getting paid left, right and centre, and probably a decent chunk of wedge. If everyone's happy, the fighters in particular, the deal will get done. Money is that grease that sort of makes the world go round. But where? I would say most likely the Middle East, probably Dubai, maybe Saudi Arabia, a country in that sort of area, maybe Qatar. It's got to be one of those Middle Eastern countries, I do believe. I mean, there had been, maybe 2 weeks ago, Eddie Hearn had sort of laid out maybe 12 or 13 different places. And at the point that I saw that New Zealand was one of those that was listed, I was like, well, that's just not realistic. That's not happening. The government in New Zealand, where I am, has categorically said it's not going to be pouring money into these sorts of events. I mean, if it would be different if there was a New Zealand fighter involved potentially, but, we're not in that scenario. So really, they've probably only been looking at a small select few of countries, and obviously the number has to be right. Maybe there has been some back and forth and, maybe not official offers, but sort of testing the water type numbers that have been coming in. We can only but speculate. But seemingly Joshua coming out, getting a lot of attention from this message on social media, he must think something is close. And they have been talking about potentially a July fight. So I guess we just sort of watch this space. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.